What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video we're here with another banger, and we are going over how UFC fighters would do as politicians. That's right, we've got a tier list here. We've got the top tier being gets elected, we've got solid chance, authoritarian dictator, would rally some votes, and then low chance down at the bottom. And we're going to be going through a bunch of fighters and deciding how they would do in politics, and I'm going to describe, how I think they're how they would go about their job. So let's get into it. The first fighter is Michael Chandler. And I'm going to put Mr. Chandler in low chance. You'll do what you're told. I feel like if Michael Chandler was going to be in politics at all, he would just be some secretary or something. He'd be some low level member, or somehow if this guy got elected, he would just be like the president that just does not do anything. And then, as I said, you'll do what you're told. He'd just have people telling him what to do at all times. And somehow he got elected as the face of the party, but then he's making none of the decisions because I feel like no one would listen to him. Chandler would start talking to you, guys, I think we should, what are we going to do about the homelessness crisis? And they'd just be like, mate, shut the fuck up. This is my game forever. You'll do what you're told. And then Michael Chandler's just going to be like, and then just everyone's just going to make decisions for him. So I don't think he would get elected. Maybe he runs on a policy of, supporting adoption of black kids. I'm not sure what his policies would be, but I don't think he would do that great in politics. We move on though to another fighter. Next fighter is Max Holloway, and I'm going to put him in would rally some votes. He's Hawaiian. I know BJ Penn run for governor of Hawaii or some shit like that. I feel like Holloway probably has a bit more fan support. I think he would do a bit better job of gathering some public support. I don't think he would do great. I don't think he would be overly successful. I do think the CTE is probably a bit too much. He'd just turn into Joe Biden, to be honest with you. There'd be at a press conference, he's just we'll find out tomorrow night. We'll find out Saturday night. He just start saying some random shit. I don't know. I just don't think Holloway would do too well. Probably not coherent enough to do too successfully in the job. But then again, Joe Biden is the current leader of America, so maybe he could. We'll move on though to another fighter. The next fighter is Manel Kape, the based one himself. I'm going to put him in authoritarian dictator. I can totally see Manel Kape being an authoritarian dictator of an African country, like Angola or some shit like that. He's just going to run that place with an iron fist. He's not letting anything happen. He is all across, the mining industry. He's not having any of it. And I think Manel Kape would definitely, win a few elections with 99% of the vote, just due to coincidence. But yeah, Manel Kape, I think he would do pretty well. I think, obviously, public support-wise, I'm not sure how much he would get. I think he could definitely get a bit. I know the people over there, they've got different ideas. They're less like America, so I think they would agree with some of the stuff Manel Kape's saying, but he would just start running eugenics programs and shit, and then I think they would be like, hang on, can we get this guy out of here? And then he would just sign a bill to prevent the running of another election and just stay in power for 20 years. That's what I can see Manel Kape doing. But we move on to another fighter. Chael Sonnen is the next person that we have here. I'm going to put him in solid chance. I actually think Uncle Chael could definitely rally some votes. I think he would get some support, and I wouldn't mind him maybe not being president, but I think I'd give him a good shot of being a governor of Portland or some shit of Oregon. He grew up in the mean streets of Westland, Oregon. He could definitely represent the people there, going through the hard times. Chael Sonnen, I could see it. I think imagine him in a fucking meeting or something. They'll just be talking to him, and he's just that raises the question. They'd try and impeach him for breaching justice, and he's that raises the question. Did I really overstep my boundaries? I don't think so. He would just deny anything that was being said, and I think Chael would do a mighty fine job in office. But we move on to another fighter. Khabib Noov is where we move to now, and I'm going to put him in gets elected. I honestly think I could totally see Khabib being a fucking, the fucking warlord of Dagestan or some shit. He just becomes a Dagestani dictator or something, Kadir, whatever his name. Kadir's Chechnya, isn't he? But yeah, he just becomes the leader of Dagestan. They'll just be Khabib, what are your thoughts on the homosexual population? What are your thoughts on them? He's brother, we send them to Canada, brother. We not have those people here. We not accept their kind here. We send them to the land of the soys. So I could totally see Khabib, running a very authoritative. Like, that's why I was considering putting him in authoritarian dictator, but that's more for the people that I think would just like somehow assume power and then just refuse to give it up. But Khabib, I genuinely think he's very popular over in Dagestan. He would definitely have a good chance of getting elected if he did run for a position of power. But we move on to another fighter. Tito Ortiz, he's going to go in low chance. Again, he's made his efforts, you know, he's a very good campaigner. He knows how to get his message across. He knows how to advertise himself. Of course, guys, make sure to vote at the polls after they are closed. That's what I'm about. Tito Ortiz, he's on top of it. Marketing campaign, 100% elite from Tito Ortiz. But all seriousness, I don't think this guy's got a great chance. You know, he would definitely he'd have some support just from the randoms that fucking don't understand the English language, or like he'll just start speaking in his little CTE language and they'll be like, yep, sounds good to me. He'll just be like, you know, so what are your thoughts on the opposition? And he was like, they're reaching for those, they're grapes. They're trying to make their cheese and wine with the violin. And then they'd just be like, yep, I get ya. Vote for Tito. But ultimately, I don't think he would have much success. We move on, though, to another fighter. Colby Covington. I'm going to put Mr. Colby in, would rally some votes, because I think he'd have a bit more success with Tito. He'd probably appeal to a relatively similar group. But I just don't think people are going to take this guy seriously enough. Even if they agree with the messaging, he would just come across as too much of like a budget Trump, and everyone would be like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he'd be like the person that would run as like the independent candidate, because there's no way I don't think the Republican Party would like let this guy in. Like, they'd be like, even though we agree with probably what you're saying, you're kind of just recycling information that you probably don't even know. Like, I don't think Colby knows anything about politics. He just fucking recycles information that he hears on Fox News. So that's my opinion on Colby. But if this guy was elected, I could see him, maybe sneaking his way in. Like, he might get elected to a area or whatever. But if he was in a meeting and shit, like, people would just be talking and they'd be like, you know, we got to crack down on gun control. He's like, sounds like something a nerd or a virgin would say. And he'd just like fucking resort to like childish insults, and then they'd probably get annoyed at him and just kick him out. So Colby Covington, don't think he's got a political career ahead of him. But we move on to another fighter. Marlon Chito Vera. I'm going to put him in authoritarian dictator. And people might be surprised by this, but I reckon Chito, you know, behind the scenes, he seems like a family man, but, you know, when shit gets serious, when he's not around, you know, the loved ones, when he's just in a serious situation, I reckon he is not having any nonsense. And I could see him being like a drug cartel leader that like takes over a country, like a military coup or something, and they just like overtake the military. Could totally see Chito Vera doing that. Not like an elected leader, but, you know, just like drug cartel takes over the country, that kind of vibe. We move on, though, to another fighter. Benoit Saint-Denis. I could totally see this guy. I'm putting him in solid chance. I could totally see this guy, like, with his, like, military background. He's got connections, just finds his way into, like, French politics or something after his fighting career. I reckon he's really popular over there. I think, like, the way he goes about things, the way he kind of talks, he doesn't seem like not so soy like a bunch of the Frenchies, but I reckon he would really gain some support there, and I could totally see him becoming like a military leader. Even if not like the president or something, or prime minister, whatever they have over there, he could totally become like a military instructor or something like that, or a sergeant, or any of those kind of roles, and just take control, and then maybe get like a military takeover of the country and just turn it into like, you know, I don't know, just something. I don't know where I'm going with this. This is just a random fucking video. We move on, though, to another fighter. The notorious Conor McGregor. I could totally see this guy getting elected. Like, he would actually have a fucking good chance, honestly. He's been talking about it. He's been saying he wants to run for, like, president or prime minister, whatever they have in Ireland. But, like, he's already getting involved, you know. He's already sending out disses to, like, random, like, Irish politicians. Like, Senator Eileen Flynn has said she wouldn't nominate me to wash the dishes. Senator, how disrespectful. I nominate you to brush your teeth and see the dentist. Because if there was ever a cause to bring back masks in this country, you would qualify. You're not even voted in. You are a token. Like, Conor's already across it. He already knows what's going on. He would have a strict immigration policy. We know how he feels about immigrants. And he would just not be having any nonsense. And I could totally, even though this guy would not be fucking qualified and he would do a terrible job probably once he's in office, like, he would just be like trying to go away and party and stuff. The amount of like impeachment scandals or like accusatory, like people just accuse him of shit, the amount of stuff he, like, as the president of a country, he would still be down at the fucking Black Forge Inn just like punching 70-year-olds if they don't want to taste proper 12. He would definitely like enforce some random shit, like mandatory proper 12, like lower the age of alcohol and stuff, just getting kids on like coke by the time they're like 12 years of age. Conor would he would definitely have some interesting policies, but I could totally see in the future him actually making a run. Maybe if he doesn't get elected, but I reckon he'd have a good shot. We move on though to another fighter. Anshul Jubli, sir. I tell you, I could have a very good chance to become Prime Minister. My brother Rishi Sunak is soon to leave and I'll take over his spot. Yeah, Anshul Jubli, you're not getting in, but you're not becoming Prime Minister, buddy. But why not, sir? I tell you, do not redeem, sir. Like, he would, knowing who Britain have right now as their Prime Minister, I could totally see him having a good shot. Probably his brother, get some nepotism, just get some treatment, get a job in office, and then, just assume the role of leader. Would definitely have a great chance of becoming British Prime Minister, given that he is Indian. But all jokes aside, yeah, I don't know. This was just a funny inclusion. We move on, though, to another fighter. Moicano wants money. Yeah, Renato Moicano, again, could rally some votes. This guy seems pretty popular. He's pretty funny. He's charismatic. I could definitely see this guy, getting some support in like an election in Brazil. I could totally see it. He's definitely leaning into the political narrative or the political side of things, After his money speech, he went back, he's like, what else do I need to let the world know about? And apart from letting the world know that he's going to go home and pipe his wife, he then just told us about, he wants to be like a fucking protective officer or something and stop the bad guys, and then he's saying America's going downhill. So this guy's definitely got great visions for different countries in the world, and I could totally see him getting some support and maybe getting a role in parliament. But yeah, we move on though to another fighter. Paddy Pimblett, lad, I'll fucking tell you, I'd have a fucking great chance of becoming Prime Minister. I reckon he would be like an authoritarian dictator. Like, this guy reminds me of just like Boris Johnson, but just like more cooked. I don't know. I reckon Paddy could, like, he seems like he's talked about some political things and stuff, He's also not a big fan of the immigration. So again, could definitely get elected on the grounds of popular policy if, the citizens, the original citizens, let's just say, are not too happy with what's going on. So I could see him, maybe getting some support. But this guy, like, if this guy gets power, he's like, lad, I'll fucking tell you, mate, you're not fucking electing anyone for the next 12 years, lad. I'm fucking running this shit forever. Like, he would just, like, not allow anyone to be real. He'd just, like, he'd change the whole shit up. He'd, like, change the whole cabinet and stuff, like, all the judges. He just full corruption mode. Paddy Pimblett, crack down on immigration, do all of it, and then totally authoritarian dictator Pimblett would come into effect. We move on though to another fighter, Francis Ngannou. I got nothing to say funny wise. Like, I think he'd have a solid chance, just with his story. But from Cameroon, I think he is probably very popular over there. I could see them electing him. But if he tried to release like slaves over there and just like get rid of unpaid labor, they would just kick him out immediately. Like the powers that be would be like, nah, mate, we need that sand mined ASAP. Like, get in there and do it yourself if you're going to fucking let everyone else free. So he would have policies that would be popular amongst like the general population, but they just wouldn't let him, like, they wouldn't let him do what he wanted. Like, so he would probably get elected, but then any policies that he wanted to pass, like, let's maybe get rid of unpaid labor. Let's stop children from working in mines. They're like, no. So, yeah, Francis, he'd have the right idea, but he wouldn't be able to, execute. Let's move on, though, to another fighter. Here's the fucking thing, guys. I'd make a fucking great president. Like, Sean Strickland definitely could get elected, He's recently become fucking hella popular. His tweets and shit are getting mad interactions. And, like, these are, like, not fight-related tweets. These are, like, political rants. Like, he's just tweeting random things. Like, he's like, man, we shouldn't let Mexicans into the country. And then it'll get, like, 20,000 fucking, like, 30,000 retweets, 100,000 likes or some shit. It's like, yeah, Sean Strickland, you would definitely, let's say, have some popular policy. But again, I don't think they would let him in. Like, if he was looking like he might win the election, they would just be like, nah, get this guy out of here quick, smart. So Sean Strickland would definitely have public support, but could not see, the upper powers, the Helwanis of the world, we know what I'm talking about, the tunnel diggers. They're not going to let Sean Strickland in with his opinions. Let's move on, though, to another fighter, and before I get kicked off YouTube again, who are we going to now? Ian the Cuck Gary. Low chance. I don't think Mr. Cucciato would have a lot of public support. I don't think his policies would be greatly appreciated. He'd be like, guys, I offer the suggestion of the National Cook Day. So every man in the country has to let their wife get fucked by another man, and they have to watch in the corner, and we're going to enjoy it very much. Like, Ian Gary would just try and impose some weird-ass fucking rules. Like, first day in office, he's just like... He's going to be like, guys, I am banning the imports of meat and we are all going to be on a vegan diet from now on. Like, I had this terrible Ian Gary impression. Like, I'm not soy enough. I need to, take some estrogen so I can get my Ian Gary impression on point. But yeah, he ain't fucking getting elected at all. We move on, though, to another fighter. Fala galera, boa noite. Charles do Bronx, I tell you, a big champion, a big support, I get elected. Charles Oliveira, I reckon he'd have a good shot, nothing political related. I feel like he probably wouldn't know what the fuck to do in office, but, just run with it. If they just put a fucking microphone in front of his face and put him on a pamphlet and send it around to the nation, I reckon he could gain enough support. I know Brazil's a pretty big population, so obviously they're not going to all know who he is just because he's a UFC fighter, but I reckon quick enough he could gain some support. They could use his story. He'd be an inspiration to the people, and I could definitely see this guy having some support. We move on, though, to another fighter. Ooh, the Klansman Dober. He's going straight in the authoritarian dictator position. You already know this guy slotting right into that 1930s to 40s German chancellor position. He is just fitting right into that role. He's just basically, nothing needs to change. He's got the same policies. He's got the same, type in citizen, the same, idea of the Aryan race, let's just say that. And, maybe his programs would involve, maybe he abandons the Helwanis and moves to the Michael Johnsons or the Bobby Greens, let's just say that. I'm going to move on. This is a risky situation, but yeah, let's move on to another fighter. Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't know. I don't really know anything about Kazakhstan politics. I'm just going to put him in a solid chance. Again, I just see a photo of him with the Kazakhstan president, and I just assume, he's connected over there. He's got connections. He's got people in high places, and I could definitely see him assuming some public support and maybe getting a leadership role in the future. Again, I know nothing about his political ideas. All I know is that based off his fighting style, he might not be a big fan of, the Bobby Greens or the Jalen Turners of the world. Let's just say that, and maybe he could base a program around that. I'm not sure, but just based off the photo that he's been with the Kazakhstan president, he probably knows people over there. I'll give him a good shot. We move on, though, to another fighter. Alexander Volkanovski. Again, he's going in, gets elected, because I genuinely think, the old man Volk, I could totally see this guy when he's like 60, just becoming like Prime Minister of Australia. I obviously am Australian, and I genuinely think this guy could gain a lot of support. Obviously, again, the whole country, we've got about 25, 26 million people. Obviously, not every single one of us is going to know who he is, but I reckon there'd be enough of the adult population in key voting areas that would definitely get behind the Volk man and vote old man Volk into office, because I don't even know if this guy's like interested in anything politically, but he would totally get like a lot of support, and I could definitely see him getting elected, even not prime minister. Like, he could definitely like win a seat in parliament for sure. We move on, though, to another fighter. Bryce Mitchell. I'll tell you, brother, I need those camo shorts. I reckon Bryce Mitchell would have no chance of getting elected, to be honest. Again, just like Tito and stuff, he probably would gain like a bit of support. He'd get a few votes from the nutheads that just don't have any critical thinking. Because if Bryce Mitchell got elected, we're in trouble. But yeah, we're gonna move on to another fight. I got nothing else to say. I tell you, man, the Earth's fucking flat. Like, he'd just be spouting nonsense at every fucking chance he got. Let's move on to another fighter. Themba Gorimbo Magumbu. I don't know what his name is. We're going to chuck him in, would rally some votes. This guy seems like he's a real friendly guy. Seems like he is well connected with the people in Zimbabwe, I think is where he's from. He does go there a lot. He is working to like build them stuff over there with his like fight money and stuff. So he seems like a pretty chill guy. He could probably get a few votes. But again, this guy tries for 1 second to get rid of slave labor, and he's straight out of there. They're not letting that happen. We move on, though, to another fighter. Balal, remember the Plains Muhammad. Again, authoritarian dictator for sure. This guy assuming a high-ranking position in, the group that resides in the mountains of Afghanistan that starts with a T and ends in an Aliban. I don't know. Fucking hell. Maybe like he might end up in the group, you know, hummus, but replace the hummus with a Hamas. That's just, what the fuck am I doing? We move on though to another fighter. BJ Penn. Yeah, he's going to go in low chance because, you know, he came, he saw, he didn't conquer, and he left. So yeah, BJ Penn already had a bit of a failed political career. I don't think he'd do much better in another go, given that this guy is pure CTE, but still refuses to admit that it exists. So we move on though to another fighter. Sergey Pavlovich. I think this guy would make good president. I could totally see him becoming an authoritarian dictator. This guy seems like he's probably bros with Putin. You know, he daps him up regularly. They're on a first name basis. He calls him Vladimir. But yeah, Sergey Pavlovich again. This guy just seems like he'd be a very capable position to become like a political leader of sorts. Like this guy is definitely gonna either be part of like the Russian mob when he leaves the UFC, as just like he wants to just keep punching people. So he just keeps like, I don't know, just killing people outside clubs or something. Like I already hypothesized what he does to, you know, the Curtis Blades of the world when he sees them outside a club in Russia. But you know, Sergey Pavlovich, he would definitely be popular with the Russian people. He's like, we come to you today. We advance the efforts in the Ukraine. I can't do a fucking Russian accent. I don't know, but yeah, Pavlovich, he'd totally be like a Putin V2, 260 pounds of white power. Definitely capable of leading the second or third largest economy and biggest country in the world. We move on to another fighter. Georges St Pierre. I could totally see this guy getting elected, I'll be honest. This guy, with the state that Canada's in right now and the state that Canadian MMA is in right now, this guy gets elected ASAP, just makes like compulsory martial arts in high schools, you know, just revive the Canadian MMA scene. That's the first duty of business. But again, I think, judging by what we saw with the whole Strickland situation in Canada and, you know, the media guy and all that, I think there's a whole lot of Canadians that just ain't happy with what's going on over there. And I totally think, I'm not saying George St. Pierre is some, like, you know, Sergey Pavlovich, Manel Cap level of based, but I think whether he's based or not, I do think Sergey, or not fucking GSP, just as like a masculine figure and just as like a well-respected martial artist and a guy that, you know, has just been through a lot and a guy that is got a very what's the word, fucking promotable story or agreeable story, I guess, something that, I don't know what I'm saying, but like people would support this guy, people would get behind him, and compared to who the fuck they've got right now, what's his name, Trudeau or whatever the fuck that guy is, did blackface or whatever he's that's the guy, I'm pretty sure he did that. But yeah, I think George St. Pierre would be very successful and have a great shot of getting elected in Canada. I don't even know if he would like do anything drastic over there, but I just think he would actually genuinely, all jokes aside for this one, have a good chance of getting elected in Canada. But let's adjust some of these finally. Let's adjust some of this. So let's move Khabib's at the top, GSP second, Volk third, Conor fourth, Strickland fifth. I reckon that's the order and how confident I am that they would get elected. Then I reckon BSD, Francis, Shavkat, Chael. I reckon those guys all have a solid chance. Dober, Manel Cap, Pavlovich, Balal, Cheeto, Paddy, in terms of the order of which I think they would be authoritarian dictators. Moicano, Holloway, Oliveira, Garimbo, and Colby in terms of guys that would rally some votes. And then low chance, I'll go with Tito, Chandler, Mitchell, BJ Penn, Angelo Jubliza, and Ian Gary. So I reckon that's good. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my picks. Who do you guys think would do well in politics out of the fighters in the UFC? Let me know in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, follow my Instagram, subscribe to my Patreon, all that shit. And yeah, see you guys in the next video. Peace out, everybody.